So, hi there. Welcome to BC Wheelchair Sports' first edition of our Limb Loss Awareness Month series of videos and interviews with some fantastic amputees who are active in wheelchair sports, not only in BC, but across the country, everywhere from the grassroots to the international level. Today, I'm really excited to announce we have our first guest, wheelchair tennis star, member of the Canadian National Wheelchair Tennis Program, Barry Henderson. How you doing today, Barry?
I'm doing pretty well. I just have an idea now, Nate, that I'm going to get a t-shirt that says fantastic amputee on the back. Thanks for that opening there. Yeah, I'm doing really well today, Nate. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. I'm really excited to kind of start these discussions off and try and spread some awareness about what amputees can do in wheelchair sports. So to start things off, I just wanted to ask you, what have your experiences in wheelchair sports been like? How did you get started, and what do you do now to stay involved?
Okay, so I lost my leg in an industrial accident in 1991, so a long time ago. Yeah, 91. That's right. Gosh, like 30 some years ago. And didn't participate in wheelchair sports at all until about 5 or 6 years ago. I went to a Have a Go event that was put on by BC Wheelchair Sports. And my physiotherapist, I'd been working with a physiotherapist just on some gait training and trying to just improve my walking. And she said, "Hey, Barry, there's a Have a Go event. Like, have you ever tried wheelchair sports?" And so I went and I tried basketball, which I had a little bit of knowledge of, but I had tried maybe one time before out. So at this event, I tried basketball, I tried tennis, and I tried throwing. And as an able-bodied adult, I had played tennis as a adolescent as well. And when I saw that the wheelchair tennis, was very similar to able-bodied tennis, the only difference was instead of my Stan Smith runners, I used a wheelchair as my mode of transportation around the court. I was hooked, and so I've been going at it pretty hard for the last 5 years, very hard for about the last two, just in terms of my training. So I think, is that there? I think I answered your question, correct, Nate?
Yeah, no, you absolutely did. That was great.
Okay.
So yeah, you've been involved in wheelchair tennis for 5 years, and you played a bit of tennis before standing up. Now, what was the transition like to you as far as learning how to use a sport wheelchair? Can you talk to
So
me a little bit about that?
yeah, so that's one of the things that's has taken the longest, like just getting to because really the only time I use a wheelchair is when I'm playing sports. I do have a day chair that I use if I'm at, like, I'm an elementary vice principal. I've been a teacher for 25 years. So there are times when I can't wear my leg because of sores and stuff. So I do have a day chair that I'll use maybe for a week every couple of years or so, but that's my only experience in a chair. So my mobility around the court is one area that has been a challenge. And certainly when I play against people who are in a chair all the time, I'm always amazed at how they just are at one with their chair, and it's all just one sort of finely tuned machine. And I'm getting there. So, but it has been a long process, but yeah, it sure has been worth it. And so it takes a little bit of getting used to, but I sure can get around the court a lot faster than when I try playing with my dad when I'm wearing my leg. Oh my gosh, that's a disaster.
Yeah. So you actually think you're quicker and probably more athletic in a chair than you would be with your prosthetic then?
Oh wait, yeah, far, far. Actually, I played. I think I played tennis once with my dad about a year after my accident, and didn't play tennis at a really high level. I was like a recreational player, but I coached tennis. I taught tennis. I was like the president of the SFU tennis club as an able-bodied player. So I was, I loved tennis, but it was about a year after my accident, and I went out in the court with my dad, and I just really couldn't run. That sort of side, like, tennis is really about lateral movement.
Yeah.
And with my prosthesis, I just didn't have any push off on my right leg. And so I just, I think I hit the ball around with my dad for about 15 minutes, and then I just said, "Hey, Dad, I can't do this," and I quit. Right, I quit tennis at that point, and then I did a lot of things that were I was able to do, but I never went back to tennis as an able-bodied person, as a stand-up player, because it was just, it was almost every time I would even thought about it, there was a little bit of grief there, and of what I had lost. And oh gosh, getting into the chair, it's just made such a difference. Yeah, yeah, it's so awesome. I love it.
Now you've been playing, like you said, you've been playing for 5 years, and you said that you've been going really hard for 2 years now. So when you say going really hard, what do you mean by that? Just for our viewers at home or anybody who kind of is thinking about what it takes to be a high performance wheelchair athlete.
Well, so yeah, so I'm like the second ranked men's player in Canada, and it's funny because today I just filled out my objectives for the year, and I don't know if the number one player will ever see this, but I actually put down as my objectives to be a double gold medalist at this year's nationals, because hopefully it's going to run. Anyway, so Thomas, if you're watching, hey, I've laid it down what my goals are. But so what going hard? So it's pretty tough actually, because I work, as I said, I'm a vice principal. So I work full time, and it's a stressful job, but I'm on the court 5 days a week, about 11 hours a week. I'm in the gym 3 days a week. And I was saying to my wife last night that weekends are kind of short, because I have to drive a lot to get to my various tennis events. So, Saturday morning I'm in North Van playing for 2 hours. A Sunday morning I'm in Steveston playing for 2 hours. So those are pretty much my days, because I live out in Mission. So it's, I get home sort of around noon, and but I have real goals. Like I've never had the kind of goals that I've been setting for myself in my life, and it's actually sort of carried over to other aspects of my life. But I want to make the Olympics. If not Tokyo this year, then I'm really gunning for the Paralympics in France in 2024. I want to do the Para Pan Ams, which are in Santiago, Chile, in 2023. And so I'm 53 years old, but I've never been in better shape. It's really I'm doing my master's right now as well, and I just finished a course on self-regulation. So it's all about goal setting, and I can't believe what an impact that has had on just my mental well-being and my tennis game as well. Just really setting goals, doing the work that's necessary to achieve them, and then setting new ones. And it's just this feedback loop of excellence, and I just love it.
Awesome. Well, that sounds really exciting. It sounds like you've got, some really exciting goals that you're striving for, and just some great opportunities hopefully coming up. Now I know you've had, in a short 5 years, just from talking to you in the past, you've had a number of really great experiences in the sport of tennis. Can you just talk to me a bit about what some of your favorite tennis memories or events that you've been to are?
Okay, so last year at this time, I guess probably if I was to rate like sort of my best experience, it's maybe I should do like a big reveal here, Nate, because I've got a T-shirt on actually. Sorry, the wind was crazy chilly today out there, so I've got multiple layers, but you can see probably I've got my Tennis Canada. Boom, I'll show the back. There we go, Canada. So I think probably the biggest thing for me has been being on Canada's high performance tennis team. And so last year, February 2020, I went down with a coach and another player, and I played in a World Team Cup event in Argentina, which that was incredible, just to represent your country. Was something I never would have ever imagined. 4 years ago, I lived in the south of France, and it was awesome, and this awesome experience, because I lived in this town right near Nice on the coast of the Mediterranean, and there was like a tennis club there that had about 14 active wheelchair players, and it was really interesting, Nate, because in BC, many of the players that I play against are paraplegics, or are people that have suffered a catastrophic injury, whereas the group in Avignon, no, sorry, in Antibes, France, they were very much all over the place, right? With most of the players could walk, right? But they had mobility issues. Like one guy had broken his leg kite surfing, right? And so he couldn't run anymore really that well, but so he played wheelchair tennis. Another guy had sort of an anomaly with his leg that was from birth, and so he couldn't really run. And but he was this amazing tennis player. And so what was great in France was I became part of this club. So it was a real social community. We would, we'd have coffee Monday morning before we played. We'd play for 3 hours, and then we'd have lunch out in the sun. And I think probably the best experience that I had was being a member of their team. And we'd all pile into the van, and we would go on these like 8-hour drives, like this one I remember we went down to the Pyrenees, and just this it was just a community tennis event. And it was nuts because it was just in this little village, and there was there was about 30 players that came, and like the town band, there was a marching band that did like a gauntlet, like playing their tubas and their trumpets and banging their drums, and we all rolled in, and it was spectacular. And I remember I was losing one match, and I just looked up at the blue sky, and this 14th century church, the bell started ringing, and I'm like, don't worry about losing, Barry. Like, this is just the pinnacle. This is it. You're playing tennis in southern France and just having the time of your life.
Nice. Well, that's really great. I actually really like that story. I had heard a little bit about your French adventures, but that was a new one for me. So thanks for sharing that, with everybody. I think that's a really great story, and it really shows how, there are some places in the world where like parasport and wheelchair sports and wheelchair tennis are taken kind of very seriously and really embraced by the community. And that's something that, I think I speak for kind of everybody at BC Wheelchair Sports when I say, hopefully, that's something that we see in the province as well, kind of as our sport continues to grow and develop.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing actually going to, I went to the wheelchair national championship basketball tournament in southern France too, and so these were like professional players, and most of them actually were amputees, right? So getting involved in sports, like in tennis is probably the best one, Nate, for being able to do these sort of events all over the world, in non-COVID times. Like this week, I would probably, on Friday, there's a tournament starting in Turkey, just outside of it's in Ankara, I think, just out on the coast of the Mediterranean. And there's Antalya is where it is, and it's there's an event Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it starts a second one on Tuesday. So, and I know my wife is like, okay, Barry, you need to go to that tournament in Israel, and I'll travel with you. So you can go anywhere with wheelchair tennis. You can go anywhere in the world. It's awesome.
Nice. And now, obviously, I know you have kind of big goals as an athlete, as a player. But one thing kind of we've talked about as well in previous conversations with you is how much you like kind of mentoring the youth and kind of giving back a little bit. So can you tell me a bit about what your experiences would that have been in tennis so far? And if there's anything kind of going forward that you're really looking forward to?
Yeah, well, so that's one thing that's a little bit of a drag, right? Because right now adults aren't allowed. Like, I can't join with the juniors anymore just because, you can have the coach there, but you can't have the sort of the secondary adult at an event. So I haven't been able to do that lately, but it's actually interesting because tonight I have a workout with my trainer, and once a week, just before me is one of the young juniors, one of the young junior wheelchair players who he has an event. And it's really, I love seeing him working out in the gym because I think the big thing for me, Nate, with being mentoring and helping out the juniors is I sometimes sort of there's that regret that when I was so I was 24 when I lost my leg, and so I didn't get into wheelchair sports right away, and so I have this little bit regret that I didn't get started right away because what could have been, Nate, and it's funny, one of my coaches right now is Kai, and he's former world number one, and him and I are the same age, and he's been retired for 20 years. So I think it's funny that I could have been, him and I could have been going head to head. So that's one of the reasons why I want to get involved in the mentoring. It's just there are so many opportunities for young athletes in wheelchair sports, and I think that I think that anybody with a mobility issue, there's a young lady from Langley. I think that she's from Langley, and so she unfortunately she's 17, and she had a bout with cancer. And so what happened is her knee is fused, so she can't run. Used to be a dancer, and you know, it's sort of like that was taken away from her. But you know, she's gotten involved in wheelchair tennis, and it's awesome. So I love to see these juniors that are coming up and accessing the sport. And one of the great things about tennis is it's such a social sport. And the other thing is you don't need a special court. The only difference is 2 bounces. So I love working with kids and introducing them to this sport that they can go play with their brother, you know, they can go play with their dad, and it's awesome.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate that. And thanks for being such a great mentor in a number of our programs. I know you're somebody that a lot of our younger athletes definitely look up to. And
Well,
we
thanks,
definitely
Nate. I'm
appreciate
really
what you
looking
do.
forward. I do find it's one thing I'm missing a little bit. The combination of doing my own training and then of course COVID makes that one thing that I can't. It's difficult for me to do. But I sure, you know, I'm really looking forward to when I bring my competitive sort of career to a little bit of a close, that I can really get involved in that and really build a program in our province that is you know, that where kids and young people from other provinces, where they migrate to BC to participate in sort of like a program that is the most excellent program in the country.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I think that sounds like a great goal. And I feel like Michelle, our tennis manager, will probably be happy to hear you say that. So that's great. Now, one last thing to kind of bring it back to Limb Loss Awareness Month there is, do you have any advice for, say, any amputee that's out there, or a young amputee, somebody who might have recently lost a limb, who's considering getting involved in wheelchair sports, or might be a little apprehensive about hopping in a chair versus, say, doing something on their feet?
Yeah, for sure, Nate. I can definitely speak to that. I think the first thing is to look at a wheelchair as a tool, right? As a piece of sporting equipment. That's how I really look at my chair. And it's, you know, I take care of it like it's like my skis, you know, like I also ski. You know, it's like my bike, you know. It's just a piece of sporting equipment that I use. And by using this piece of sporting equipment, it has opened up a whole community that I didn't even know it really, well, I knew it existed, Nate, but I didn't really recognize how vibrant it is, and just the amazing people that I've met through wheelchair sports. It's added so much to my life. And I would just say, give it a try, right? Like, there's so many different sports. If you're into individual sports, there is, you know, you can do track, you know, athletics. You could be a marathon wheeler, I guess maybe that'd be called, right? But there's so many things. And get involved. Like, I often, it's difficult. Like, it's really hard losing a limb. So as I said, like this September, gosh, September 12th will be the 30th anniversary that I lost my leg. And even now, right, when I'm hopping around my house, I'll just say, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just went to work one day and I lost my leg. Like, it's crazy. But as I said a little earlier, it's brought so much to my life. So you have to embrace it, right? Because there's nothing you can do about losing your limb. Right? There's nothing, you don't have any choice in that matter anymore. So I would just say embrace your disability and try some new things, and you'll never know. Like, here I am, 53, representing my country, you know, potentially a Paralympian, and just feeling, as I said earlier, like, never been in better shape, never felt more positively about myself, both my body image and just my self-esteem. So I just go for it. Find something. And if you don't like tennis, try basketball. If you don't like basketball, try sledge hockey. If you don't like sledge hockey, try throwing. Go for it.
Awesome. I think that's a really great message, and I really appreciate you being a part of our series. Thanks a lot. To anybody watching, I really hope you've enjoyed our first episode of our Limb Loss Awareness Month series. We'll have a few more to post throughout this month, so feel free to leave a comment, like this post, and share it with your friends. Please let us know if there's anything else that you'd like to know about how to get involved in wheelchair sports as an amputee or as an individual with any disability. We'll be more than happy to help you. Thanks again, Barry. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk again soon.
All right.
Thanks.